Having defeated the bully Chiolu, Du-won is still surprised at what had happened. He was still coming to accept the fact that this setup was exactly like a game where he becomes OP and defeats everyone overwhelmingly. However, at this point, the special effect of his final class applies. He expects to get some amazing buff. Instead, all his stats get set to level 1 again. He loses all of his abilities too. He starts raging at the game system, asking why it would make him OP at first only to do this. While he keeps raging, another window pops up telling him that he has finished his quest of defeating the bully. As a reward, he gets a golden key. Du-won starts walking in the hallway while holding the key in his hand. The notification window told him that it was just a normal key. He puts the key in his pocket and decides to deal with it later because, at the moment, he was more interested in the person who gave him this power. He tries to speak their name to talk to them, but there is no response, and he decides to just message him later after getting back home. While walking, he gets another quest asking him to accept an invitation for an event which would happen tonight. He wonders what it means since he didn't even know the location. Suddenly, someone bumps into him and they both fall. The other person asks if Du-won is okay, but Du-won says he should be asking him that question considering the guy had a nosebleed just from bumping into someone. Du-won was about to go fetch him some tissues, but the other guy says it's not a big deal and hurries on his way. This guy must be even weaker than me, Du-won thinks pitifully. Du-won enters the bathroom where he runs into Jae-min Shin. Jae-min tells Du-won that he saw everything, about how Du-won kicked Chiolua's butt. Du-won remembers this guy as being one of the bullies and is worried that he might try to avenge Chiolu or something, but Jae-min just thinks that Du-won was hiding his power all along for some reason and thinks it's funny. He invites Du-won to go drinking with some girls from another high school. Du-won is surprised by this request. The timing of it being tonight tells Du-won that this was what his quest had been referring to. Having experienced the system, Du-won knows that rewards usually follow after completing a quest and would undoubtedly make him stronger. Becoming stronger would help him escape his life as a loser. At the same time, he thinks that hanging out with bullies would make him an even bigger loser, so he makes an excuse about having to go to his grandpa's grave. Jae-min says he'll invite him another time then and goes on his way. Du-won takes a breath of relief at having avoided another messy situation. He continues what he came to the bathroom to do, when a notification pops up in front of him. The notification said that he was going to get penalized for not accepting the quest. It then said that anguish had started. Du-won questioned where the anguish had started, and then he felt it in his nether. He felt the pain of being hit in his manhood by a herd of raging bulls. The pain is excruciating, and he still had 59 minutes remaining. The system asks him again if he would reconsider accepting the request. He ends up going, given how he couldn't face the penalty. Honestly, no one could. He meets Jae-min, who asks about the grave visit. Of course, our boy is a clown too and tells him that his grandpa couldn't make it today to his own grave visit. Du-won is super anxious about what might happen while hanging out with bullies. Jae-min asks Du-won if he is ready to have some fun, although the look on Jae-min's face is super concerning. Du-won, seeing this look, tries to run away again. This is when the girls they were supposed to meet arrive. One of the girls really catches Du-won's attention. He finds her really attractive, and one look at her face makes him stay. There's a lot of food and alcohol here even though they were high schoolers. It seems Jae-min knew someone who worked here, which was why they could drink there. Jae-min pours him a drink and tells him not to worry about the price and order whatever he wants, as he was paying today. Du-won feels he might not be a bad guy after all and thinks there is a good vibe going on when Jae-min says his wallet should be here soon. This surprises Du-won, who didn't understand what he meant. Someone enters the room at this moment, and Jae-min asks him if he has paid for them. He tells Jae-min that he has paid for their stay for 2 more hours. This is Yu Ji-han, the same kid who Du-won bumped into earlier, and just like Du-won was a game shuttle for the bullies, this guy was a wallet shuttle. He was bullied into paying for others. Hearing this, Jaemin gets angry and glares at Jihan, asking why he thought they would be here for only 2 more hours. Doo-won shivers as he sees the real side of Jaemin while Jihan apologizes to him. As they settle down, Jaemin pretends to pour Jihan a drink, saying he forgives him since Doo-won is here today. Of course, this was just an act, as he instead pours it all over his pants. Again, this is just more bullying from Jaemin, who did this on purpose. At this point, Doo-won starts realizing that Jihan was being bullied by Jaemin the day he bumped into him too. He laments at how he got caught up with another bully so quickly. Someone asks Jaemin to sing, and he decides to sing a ballad. The girls tell him that would bring the mood down, so to make it funny, he says Jihan should dance to the ballad. In case you don't know, a ballad is more of a narration than a song and not really something to dance to. Doo-won knows that Jaemin is just trying to embarrass him again. A girl tells him to not make him do something like that, though she doesn't really care, but Jaemin coerces Jihan, saying he likes to dance. Jihan gives him a silent stare which makes Jaemin pull him in. He threatens him silently, telling him to stop embarrassing him in front of the girls. Jihan says he'll do it and gets up to dance. Doo-won thinks this guy must not have any pride, but then he realizes that Doo-won himself would probably have done the same in his situation. Doo-won can relate to Jihan's situation and runs away to the bathroom so he wouldn't have to watch him. Doo-won knows that the only reason Jaemin wasn't bullying him too was because he thinks that Doo-won was secretly strong and just pretending to be weak. Though in reality, considering how Doo-won's strength was now set to level 1 again, he actually was weak. Considering that he had already completed the quest, Doo-won decides to run away, leaving the bullied Jihan alone. He thinks he doesn't have the power to save anyone but also painfully realizes that Jihan was in the same position that he was not too long ago. That Jaemin was just bullying Jihan like Cheolu did. He mans up and returns to the room, intending to set Jaemin straight. The girls had left to fix their makeup for a bit while Jihan was standing there without his pants. Again, Jaemin was bullying him, pretending to wash his pants for him. Doo-won, in a sudden burst of chadness, tells Jaemin to give it back, by playing on Jaemin's impression of him being secretly strong. However, at this point, Jaemin's friend enters the room. One look at this high schooler, and Doo-won starts backtracking. He plays it off by pretending that he was asking for the mic because he wanted to sing. Really though, this high schooler looks like your typical Yakuza, but we'll accept that he is in school right now. Unfortunately, the system had other plans. He gets a new quest for hitting Jaemin's head with a mic within 30 minutes. And just as before, not doing it would result in a penalty. They all sit down again, and you might be wondering where Jihan is. Well, apparently this pig, who is called Manchun, is sitting on top of Jihan. Jihan may be getting bullied by torags like Jaemin, but boy, does he have some solid core strength. While this is happening, all Doo-won can think of is the dilemma that he is in right now. He could either smash Jaemin's head and get badly beaten up by the pig, Manchun, or he could fail the quest and face the life-forsaking penalty again. Yes, that one. If he could still use his skills, then maybe he could have found a way out of this situation, but they were locked. He blames the stupid seal for his current predicament. The pig interrupts his thoughts, questioning if Doo-won had really beaten Cheolu when he looked so weak himself. Jaemin assures him that he did. While Doo-won is anguishing over his situation, Jaemin asks him another question based on this. He asks why Doo-won had let himself get pushed by Cheolu when he was so strong. Doo-won can't give him a straight answer, but Jaemin moves on and tells him the real reason he asked him to come here. He wanted to hold hands with Doo-won. Doo-won wonders if Jaemin is gay, but what Jaemin really meant was that he wanted Doo-won to join his gang and help him take over the Gwanik district. He sweetens the offer by telling him that he would get a lot of other benefits by joining as well, such as food, alcohol, his own posse, and certain other benefits. Of course, Doo-won already knows what he wants. Games. And so, his gaming addiction saves him from making another bad choice. Besides, all Do-won wants was to just not get mixed up with bullies anymore. Jae-min also tells him this would let him get back at all the people who bullied him. He would no longer be a game shuttle. He tells him to think it over and goes to the bathroom. The proposition of not being a game shuttle and loser anymore really entices Do-won. He thinks this is probably why he got these powers, to escape his life as a game shuttle. Honestly, considering the school life Do-won has had till this point, it really isn't surprising if he would jump at the chance to escape it. Ji-han interrupts his thoughts and shows him the golden key that Do-won had dropped when they had bumped into each other earlier. He gives the key back to him while also warning him about hanging around with Jae-min. Do-won thinks that he definitely didn't want to live like Ji-han and shouldn't let go of his chance to escape this life. Do-won is startled by his words and asks why he is telling him this, but Ji-han says it's because he doesn't think that Do-won is a bad person, given how Do-won had interacted with him. The kid is so nice that he even apologizes to Do-won if his words made him mad. While they were talking, there's only 3 minutes left for the penalty, and Do-won is shivering in his bones. It seems he has made his decision. He's going to endure the pain and then side with the bullies for the sake of his school life. He finds a storage room and prepares himself for the worst. Back in the room, someone wants to sing a song, but it seems the mic is missing. Jae-min just leaves the bathroom when suddenly, Do-won shows up behind him and smashes his head with the mic. He had decided that it would be better to keep living as a loser than to join Jae-min's gang. Besides, he couldn't have faced the penalty anyway. This successfully completes the quest. Luckily, Jae-min also gets knocked out in one blow. He hides Jae-min and thinks about how to save Ji-han from the fat pig in the room. Seeing Jae-min's phone, he comes up with an idea. Using Jae-min's phone, he starts messaging Man-chun, the fat pig. Back in the room, Man-chun is singing about Cosmos when he gets a message from Do-won, pretending to be Jae-min, telling him he can't sing for shit. Do-won decides to flame him some more and tells him that he probably ate Cosmos and baits him into coming out of the room alone while sending everyone else home. His plan works, but before he could run away, Man-chun had already found him. As Do-won realizes that he is screwed, an emergency quest is activated, telling him he has to defeat Man-chun now. He gets kicked and beaten around by Man-chun like a ragdoll. While Man-chun is using Do-won like a rag, he wonders why Jae-min is knocked out on the floor. Seeing the mic in Do-won's pocket, he realizes that Do-won had probably been the one to knock him out. The hypocrite calls our boy Do-won a coward, at which Do-won musters up his courage to angrily yell that the real cowards were these two who only bullied weak kids and took their money. Before he could say anything else, Man-chun throws him into some cardboard boxes and bags of flour. In the dust that rises up, Do-won notices the golden key which had fallen from his pocket and wonders how to use it. A message shows up from the administrator, giving him a hint. Do-won obviously knows how keys work, but he wonders where he should put it in. As if to answer this question, his skill window shows up. His locked skills had a keyhole for a key to be inserted. He inserts the key and turns it as light glows up on his face. Meanwhile, Man-chun was trying to wake up Jae-min when Do-won gets up again in all the dust and starts talking. He tells Man-chun that if Do-won didn't fight him now, then he couldn't call himself a man anymore. Yes, that is certainly the only reason he is fighting him. Man-chun kind of likes this manliness and runs at Do-won in the dust. Before the fight, we get a quick flashback into Do-won's past to when he was a kid. At arcades, he was known for his unique playstyle in a fighting game, and his signature move was a high jump kick to the head from above, the Falcon Drop. This is also the skill Do-won had unlocked. Another skill from a game he had played as a kid. Just as he is about to use this ability, the system tells him that he doesn't have the mana for it. He gets hit by Man-chun again and falls down the stairs. The skill required just a little bit more mana than his max. Once again, Do-won had fallen victim to the mechanics of this system. His reward for getting beat up by Chiolu had given him a skill which he couldn't even use, and it makes him tear up. Thinking of rewards, Do-won remembers that there was a reward for smashing the mic over Jaemin's head too. Unfortunately, the key had dropped where he had hit Jaemin, in front of the bathroom. He tries to make a run for it, but Man-chun catches him easily and really starts laying into him. He throws Do-won to the floor and then smashes his head next to an elevator when he tries to make a run for it again. Do-won manages to press the elevator button while getting slammed and falls down to the ground. While being held down by Man-chun's foot, Do-won baits Man-chun by asking him if he really thought he was alone. Man-chun thinks that Do-won is just bluffing, but Do-won says he was just bait for his friends to get here. At that moment, the elevator opens, and Do-won yells for his comrades to get Man-chun. Man-chun, thinking this was an ambush, quickly turns around, but the elevator is empty. Having been perfectly baited by Do-won, he turns back angrily to beat him up, but Do-won had also made a run for it at that moment. It seems Man-chun also had pigs for brains. Meanwhile, Do-won is near the place where the key dropped, but he stumbles from all the damage. As he tries to get up, Man-chun enters the room, with the hand sign for the pulp no jutsu on Do-won. Do-won realizes that it might be too late, but luckily, at that moment, he sees the key right next to him. There's even a proper description this time for the copper key which can unlock locked stats. Do-won quickly yells, character information, to open his stats window and sees a keyhole in the stats graph. As Man-chun runs at him, Do-won quickly uses the key, yelling to increase his mana stats, however, Man-chun had already reached him. The system notifies him that his mana had been increased by 100 in the nick of time, and he finally uses his skill. He dodges Man-chun's punch and, using his thick leg as a ledge, jumps into the air. He winds up his leg, high above Man-chun, and smashes it down onto his head. The super strong drop from such a height absolutely destroys Man-chun in one blow. Do-won lands back on the ground, just as the system notifies him that he has completed the sudden quest. As a reward, he gets a silver key which he pockets. Using such a skill beyond his abilities heavily affects Do-won physically. As he thinks that he has won and can finally go home, he staggers just as Jaemin shows up again, angered at him. While Jaemin was reacting to this, someone else also shows up. Man-chun's older brother, the one who worked at that place, shows up as well. He gets angry at the state of his younger brother too. Do-won remembers that Jaemin had said that Man-chun's brother worked here. Meanwhile, the noise from his fight with Man-chun had brought out other delinquents from their rooms, all of whom seemed to know Jaemin and Man-chun. Seeing them, Do-won remembers that Jaemin had said he usually drank with his friends here. Do-won didn't even have the strength to run away, much less any mana to use an ability. As he sees all the delinquents surrounding him, he realizes that he is screwed. Meanwhile, Jihan had safely left the building. As he was walking, he reflected back at what had just happened and wondered whether it was okay for him to escape alone. In a flashback, we see that Man-chun had received messages from Jaemin that had made Man-chun send them all home and run out fuming to beat him. Jihan was already aware that this was a place where Man-chun's friends hung out, so there was no way that Jaemin would have tried to fight him here. He also realized that only Do-won was the one who didn't know this already, which is why it was probably Do-won who had done it. He also understood that the last message was meant to save Jihan himself. Before they were about to leave, one of the girls tells them all to hurry home while excusing herself to go to the bathroom for a moment. Jihan looks back at the building one last time, thinking that Do-won had probably done all this because he had a plan. Right? Do-won, though, had no such plan. As he sees all the bullies around him, he knows this was probably the end of the line for him. He was exhausted as hell, and what's more was that he didn't even have the mana to use any abilities either. Jaemin closes up on him, telling him that he is dead now. Just as the bullies are about to beat him up, the manager runs in yelling that someone had reported them to the cops and that all the underage kids had to quickly run away. This is a super lucky break for Do-won, as everyone is forced to walk away. As he looks at them, Jaemin points to Do-won and lets him know that he is dead because they all know his face now. Do-won breathes a sigh of relief and decides to get the hell out of there, but at that moment, all the accumulated damage, stress, and using abilities far beyond his physical capabilities up to this point finally hit him, and he faints right there. As he wakes up, he can see a girl standing in front of him. Seeing him stir, she asks if he had finally woken up when he should have been awake a long time ago. This is the same girl who Do-won went gaga over just a bit earlier today. Do-won tries to ask why she was here with him, but she shushes him, telling him to lower his voice because they were in the ladies' bathroom right now. He is visibly confused and asks why he is there in a whisper. She tells him that the police are still hanging around outside, but they won't come looking in here. Do-won remembers that someone had reported them, and it turns out that this girl was also the one who had made the report to the cops. He asked her why she had done so, considering it would put her in danger too. Was it just to save Do-won? The girl says that by chance, she had seen him win against Man-chun, which changed her opinion of him, though he hadn't really thought of the aftermath. Do-won mistakes this for romantic interest, thinking that maybe the girl had fallen for his unexpected charm, and asks her how he can repay her. But she just tells him not to worry about it and to just grant her a wish for saving him. To this, Do-won agrees with a flushed face. Do-won wakes up in his bed the next day with a call from his mom, who was on a business trip. He wonders why she is so agitated over him having not called for a day when she tells him that it has actually been 3 days. Do-won realizes that in the aftermath of having fought 3 people in 1 day, he had been asleep for 3 days afterward. He orders some chicken since he's hungry and gets ready for the day. He takes a shower and logs back onto his PC, intending to talk to the administrator inside the Lost RPG game. However, it seems that the ID belonging to that person had been deleted. He also couldn't talk to him directly through the system because the administrator only talked to him one way. Do-won recaps what he knew about the system till now. Number 1, the system was basically laid out like an RPG game with levels, classes, stats, and abilities. Number 2, bullies are considered as monsters within the system, and beating them gives keys as a reward. He had gotten a silver key as a reward for beating Man-chun. Number 3, the keys make him stronger, but depending on the rarity of the key, gold, bronze, or silver, the effect is different. This meant that he would need another gold key to unlock the first skill that he had used on Chiolu. While he ponders over what to do with his fight against Jaemin and his friends, the chicken arrives. He happily skips to the door to get the chicken, thinking he'll spend the rest of his spring break figuring out what to do. As he gets to the door, a new quest arrives. He wonders who the system is talking about when he opens the door, and it turns out to be the same girl from before. He asks her what she is doing at his house and how she knew his address when she tells him that he had to grant her one wish, to take off his clothes. Obviously, the kid had misread the situation. While staring at the quest window and letting his imagination run wild, he had automatically taken his shirt off. She was just asking him to change his clothes, given he was in his pajamas. As Do-won puts his shirt back on, he asks her again why she was here without any notice and how she knew his address. She tells him she knew his address when she was carrying him away from the club, and his phone fell out of his pocket. His apartment card was on the back of his phone. While going through his clothes, she comments on how they are all loser clothes and whether they were all he had. Do-won says his mom bought them for him, to which the girl says she was just kidding. She tells him let's go. It's finally time. Do-won's first time to go shopping with a girl. The clothes she picks out for him are meant to make him look tough, but it didn't really suit him. The girl tells him that he has to spend the day together with her, so he can't look weak. They finally settle on a look that works for him, though wearing these sort of clothes does make Do-won feel awkward. Do-won is happy to get complimented by the girl when the system gives out the next quest. Feeling this is like an RPG game makes it easier for Do-won to talk to her, and he asks her out to eat. Though, this notion is dispelled pretty quickly because they eat for 30 minutes without talking. Awkwardly, Do-won finally asks the girl for her name. Her name is Seon. And the conversation immediately dies again. Surprisingly, Seon tells him to ask if he wants to know anything else about her. Do-won is stumped and can't think of anything to ask at the moment. Seon gets up to leave and says they'll get to know each other more anyway, as they would be meeting each other pretty often from now on, which leaves Do-won to question what she meant. They still had time to kill, and the system also starts pestering Do-won with new date-like quests. They go watch a movie, which makes Do-won feel like he is dreaming. Spending time together at a cafe with a girl makes him happier than when he got promoted in League of Legends. While singing a song for her at karaoke, he wonders why these quests keep appearing. At the arcade, he thinks, wasn't the system supposed to make me fight against bullies? But no matter how he looked at it, this was just a date. As he finishes an impressive performance, he looks at Seon, hoping to appeal to her, but she was just staring at some fish plushies in a crane game. He excuses himself to go to the bathroom and returns 10 minutes later, having won the same toys for her. It's a pretty cute thing to do. He looks around for her and finds her standing next to some arcade games. As he calls out to her, thinking this is the best day of his life, someone rips his head back from the roots. The guy asks him who he thought he was, calling Seon's name all friendly like that. The guy has him pulled down by his hair, while two girls acquainted with the guy show up. Do-won feels like this person's face is familiar to him but can't quite remember. This is Kang Si-hoon, who Seon knows already. She tells him to let Do-won go. Si-hoon lets him go immediately and says he only did it because Do-won didn't respond soon enough. At this point, Do-won is just thinking that every time things are getting too good, something like this happens. As Si-hoon towers over him and asks who he is, Do-won sweats in anticipation of what is about to happen, the ding sound which would give him a quest to defeat this bully. However, no quest arrives, and instead, Seon replies that Do-won is her boyfriend. This shocks both of them, Do-won even more than Si-hoon. Seon tells Si-hoon that if he understands, then he should stop interrupting their date and get lost. Seon takes Do-won's hand, taking him with her, telling him that Si-hoon is just a neighbor and not her friend. Outside, Do-won is still happily drunk on the word boyfriend when Seon tells him that they are finally here. Do-won sees the motel sign on the building and stammeringly asks if this is what he thinks it is. Seon tells him that whatever it is, to just follow her inside, as he had promised to be with her the whole day. At the same time, the system gives him another quest to go inside in order to fulfill her wish. It seems they had finally reached their destination. Inside the elevator, Do-won sees that they are going to the 7th floor, which holds the motel rooms. Sweating at what is next, Do-won starts yapping about how things are moving too fast and how they should focus on their academics, but Seon tells him not to worry about it and that she will handle it. As the elevator stops and Seon moves, Do-won sees that the motel floors are actually closed. He asks Seon why she took him here then, but what awaits Do-won is completely different from what he was imagining. He had arrived at a meeting of the Gwanak-gu Bully Council. The man in charge brings up the first item on the agenda, which is Do-won having beaten up members of their council. They were going to decide on his punishment. As Do-won, sweating profusely, asks Seon what this is, the council starts taking a quick vote on disposing of Do-won as punishment. Everyone raises their hands, agreeing on his demise unanimously. The council declares him as a target for the 497 members of the bullies in Gwanak-gu. As Do-won shakes in fear of what he is hearing, a new, final quest pops up, telling him to finally become a man. To become a man by betting his life and escaping from this life-or-death situation. Do-won finally understands what the quest meant when it said, become a man. He gets another notification that rewards for chain quests will be given at the completion of the final quest. Do-won had more important matters on his mind, though. Shaking in fear, he whispers to Seon, "Was this why you spent the whole day with me? To bring me here only to be sold out?" Just as the guy in charge of the meeting is about to declare this motion of disposing of Do-won as passed, Sien interrupts him. Apparently, she is a sunbae, meaning a senior in the school, and also an associate of Barami-dong, which is the area in which Do-won's school is located. She tells them to start with the next matter on the agenda before deciding on this one. While she is speaking, Do-won turns around to avoid being recognized by the other bullies. The other bullies are intrigued at this sight, while Do-won is just shivering at them looking at him. He knows that he might get executed here if they knew who he was. The person in charge talks about the second matter. It was the election of the head of Barami-dong, as that position was vacant. Sien says yes and also says that as the deputy of the Barami-dong, she has found the right person for this. She grabs Do-won, who was hoping to escape quietly, and pushes him in front of the council. Do-won is stumped at this. All the other bullies snicker at seeing him, recognizing him from the screen, but the person in charge says that he is concerned about him as a rep because of him having beaten up their members previously. Sien says it's even better, as beating 3 guys in a day qualifies him as a rep. One of the bullies, hearing this, tells another guy called Sung that she says beating his guys qualifies Do-won to be a rep and whether he was just going to sit through this. This is Sung, and he is the head or rep of the Sillim-dong area. Also, he agrees with what had been said by Sien. Do-won tries to tell Sien that he won't join the bully council, but she tells him to think about it. He could either fight the 500 members of the council, or he could join them, and they won't punish him for being a member. Do-won thinks that maybe she is right and thanks her for being concerned about him, but she says she isn't doing this for him. Apparently, someone else wanted the position, and she just didn't want him to have it. At this point, the elevator opens, and Si-hoon steps out. Do-won recognizes him from the arcade. Sien is surprised to see him there, as Si-hoon says that she didn't tell him about the meeting today. He tells her the boyfriend act seemed suspicious to him, and he figured that she was trying to stop him from coming to the meeting. Apparently, he is also a Barami-dong associate, and Sien wanted to prevent him from becoming the next rep. He says even if she was against him being the rep, it was still too much to let Do-won become the next rep, and he grabs him by the neck. Do-won is already tapping out from the pain of not being able to breathe. The person in charge of the meeting tells Si-hoon to not cause chaos at the meeting. He also asks Sien again to confirm that Do-won is the new representative. Hearing this, Si-hoon lets Do-won go and says he is going to be it next, while Sien protests against it. The person in charge, who I'll just call the suit from now on, says that since there are 2 representative candidates, they will have a contest to decide. Do-won gets up weakly, saying he had no intention of becoming the rep, but all the bullies around him started making space. The suit announces that Si-hoon and Do-won will fight for the position. Do-won thinks that since he didn't want the position, he can just forfeit as soon as the fight starts, but the suit also says that if Do-won loses, then following the first matter, he would be disposed of. Si-hoon tells Sien to not blame him too much since it was her fault for getting caught. He tells her to leave the rep position to him, but she isn't even looking at him. Si-hoon turns around to ask what she was looking at, while behind him, Do-won was already high in the air. He had decided since there was no way out, he would have to fight and win. Do-won uses the Falcon drop ability on Si-hoon before he could react. Everyone is amazed, but not at Do-won's attack. They were all talking about how Si-hoon had managed to block it. Apparently, his nickname was the Borome Granite, meaning that he had a pretty sturdy body. This is a terrible situation for Do-won. The attack that had destroyed the Fat Man Chun had done nothing to this guy, which should tell you how strong he is. Do-won also didn't have any more mana to use this attack again. While he was thinking this, Si-hoon had already gotten him in a rear neck choke. Do-won knows he is screwed and starts tapping out, but Si-hoon, being savage, says he won't let go until Do-won goes unconscious. Hearing this, Do-won suddenly remembers why this guy looked familiar and why Do-won couldn't recognize him earlier. Apparently, Si-hoon was a fatty in middle school and had bullied Do-won then too. He would choke him and not let go until Do-won went unconscious. He did this to him so much, but what Do-won feared was not fainting, it was the humiliation he had to face when he woke up. As Do-won wakes back up in the present, he curses Si-hoon in his head, thinking he should have died eating hamburgers or something. The fight seems to be over, but what seems to have really made Do-won angry was, why had Si-hoon lost weight and had a glow up? Was it to get girls? The more he thought about it, the angrier it made him. Yes, Do-won. Use the anger, it will give you unimaginable powers. Someone in the crowd says Do-won has no chance of winning. The word chance triggers something in Do-won's memories. Si-hoon sees Do-won back on his feet and turns around. He tells him he should stop or he could seriously get hurt, but Do-won just tells him to worry about himself. Grinning, Do-won takes off his jacket, telling Si-hoon that from now on, he was going to beat the shit out of him. In the next panel, Do-won surprises everyone by landing a sudden surge of multiple strikes on Si-hoon. In reality, these were just super weak punches, like from a cat's paw. Do-won still keeps up this desperate barrage, thinking that he just needed a bit more. In a flashback, we see that he was looking for the silver key that he got as a reward for beating Manchun. A silver key unlocks passive skills, and the skill that was unlocked was a critical hit. A 1% chance to have his attack do much more damage while ignoring the enemy's defense. This was why, in the present, Do-won was keeping up these paw-like attacks that he had dubbed the monk brain spam strat. Of course, Sien is embarrassed by Slash at seeing this while the rest of the guys laugh. Even Si-hoon is surprised. Not at the number of attacks, but at how weak each of them were. Do-won was counting his hits, and finally, he was at the 100th attack. He raised his fist and landed the 100th hit, expecting to blow Si-hoon away, but nothing happened. It seems like luck wasn't on his side today. The RNG had failed him. Si-hoon grabbed him by the neck, asking him what he was thinking would happen with those weak-ass punches. He flung Do-won high into the air with his strong grip and slams him down onto a unit. This was a devastating blow to Do-won. While Do-won lay crumpled on the ground, Si-hoon told him that even if he had a plan with all those punches, it wouldn't really matter because he had shed 130 kilograms of body fat to build this body and nothing Do-won did could harm him. Do-won barely manages to get up and tells him that, yes, he was a trashy, fat bully in middle school. Si-hoon is surprised that he knows him but doesn't remember Do-won himself. Do-won tells him that how all bullies are, that they forget the pain they inflict on others. Si-hoon walks up to him while Do-won kicks in desperation to get away, but he gets grabbed by the leg and easily thrown against the stacked chairs on the side. Si-hoon says that Do-won is the same as him, that he wouldn't remember all the toys he played with as a kid either. This just shows what kind of a bullying mentality Si-hoon has had until now. At this point, Eun-hang, the Sillim-dong rep, tells Sien to give up on the fight now as Do-won had lost all his will to fight. Do-won was facing the ground, shaking, thinking he was a fool to trust in that 1% chance. If he lost, he would be disposed of here, and he couldn't win against Si-hoon either. He gets up again, looking determined to escape, that is. He starts talking to Si-hoon, saying he was just being friendly before since they knew each other, but Si-hoon already isn't in the mood for it. At that moment, Do-won sees his chance and runs to the exit. Unfortunately, his feet get trapped by his own jacket that he had taken off earlier. As he stumbles, he falls forward with his hand outstretched, regretting having taken off his jacket. His outstretched palm touches Si-hoon, and Si-hoon is immediately blown away with a super strong impact. He is flung across the room and hits the elevator door very hard. All the spectating bullies are excited by this attack, and one of them says that this was a Murim special skill that concentrates the chi in the palm and releases it at the enemy's body. They call it the Flame Emperor Drake's Iron Palm. Of course, that wasn't it. This impact was from his critical hit ability. As Do-won smiles in relief at the notification, thinking he had won, Si-hoon gets back up again. Even that insanely strong hit wasn't enough to finish him off. He is angrier than ever because he thinks Du-won was hiding his strength from the beginning to fool him. With an absurdly angry face, he tells Du-won that he is going to kill him. Everyone sees Du-won shiver in fear, but he was actually smiling. Having landed that 1% critical hit had given him a taste of winning against impossible odds. Knowing that he now had a chance of winning, Du-won once again launched himself at Si-hoon. He yells out that he was going to hit him in the chest once more. Si-hoon, knowing what happened last time, quickly guarded his chest. However, this was a fake, as Du-won was instead aiming for his nose instead. To tell you how strong even a weak hit to the nose is, the author tells us that if you were to encounter the strongest shark in the ocean, you should aim for its nose. The nose is always the weakest spot. Even Du-won's clumsy hit to Si-hoon's nose is a devastating blow. Taking this hit, Si-hoon staggers backwards, but Du-won's critical hit doesn't prop. As Si-hoon tries to recover on the ground, Du-won, knowing he couldn't bet on the 1% again, reaches out and quickly grabs him from behind. Savagely, he thrusts his fingers into Si-hoon's bleeding nose and pulls it back like a maniac, yelling that he won't let him go until he forfeits. Si-hoon, his face extremely contorted, with tears in his eyes from the pain, yells at Du-won. Everyone else in the crowd, including Sien, is shocked and has goosebumps just from watching this. Finally, Si-hoon forfeits and falls down to the ground in agony. Du-won breathes in disbelief at the fact that he finally won. Behind him, the broken electrical heating unit sparks and lights up, all to create this moment of Du-won's victory pose. The bullies are amazed at this win effect, though, of course, this was an actual fire. Du-won himself is shocked at seeing the fire behind him. Everyone runs out in a panic, with Du-won getting swept up with them. He manages to get out of the building, having escaped a fiery death. One of the bullies mentions how he couldn't see Sien out here. His friend replies that maybe she was still up there, as she had to help Si-hoon too, since they were from the same association. Behind them, Eun-sung was looking at them and Du-won with a questioning look on his face. This was because Du-won was no longer sitting next to the fire hydrant anymore. He was already running up the stairs in the building, surprised at himself for going to save Sien. He only knew her name, and she wasn't important to him, but they had spent a whole day together, which clearly meant something to Du-won. Also, he had promised to stay with her for the entire day. He bursts into the room, yelling her name out, saying he came to save her. But he stops in his tracks when he sees the suit had already put the fire out calmly. There never was any danger to begin with, but these bullies definitely were dim-witted and panicked. The suit and Sien stare at him, with the suit asking him to finish his sentence as to what he came here for. He makes up a reply, asking if he could go home now, wanting to die from the embarrassment. The suit carries Si-hoon out while telling Du-won that he is now the new rep of Baramidong. As Du-won walks Sien to her home, Sien tells him that she knows this is a confusing situation for him, but not to worry too much, as she had other plans, and he should be thankful for avoiding the bully council's disposal today. Du-won knows she is right, as if she hadn't made him the rep, he would have been a goner for sure. They reach her house, but before they say goodbye, Du-won tells her he only had one anchovy left that she wanted, from the arcade. Seeing this, Sien is surprised at what this toy was. Du-won says she was staring at it in the claw machine in the arcade. Remembering that, she tells him she wasn't staring at the dolls inside but instead at the wanted poster on the front of it. As she turns to leave, Sien thanks him for earlier, to which Du-won asks, "What for?" With a smile, Sien turns around, anchovy in hand, telling him it's for running back up to save her. They say goodbye to each other, with Du-won looking clearly flushed at her answer. Finally, the quest completion notification pops up. Since he had done 8 chain quests, Du-won wonders what kind of reward he would get. As he sees the reward, Du-won is shocked to see what it is, though I suppose we won't find out till later. The next day, it's the first day of school, and Du-won had arrived early to do something important. Of course, this task is to set up his game shuttle equipment in his classroom. As he got to his class, another student was already there, sleeping with his head down. Do-won glances at this student's ID card on the table and remembers the name Han Eun-sung. He remembers something Seon had told him yesterday, to not get involved with Eun-sung, who was the rep of Sillim-dong and also the most dangerous of all bullies in their district. She had warned him to never encounter him, as Eun-sung got up from his seat after noticing Do-won. He tells him to not be scared, as he was a bully council's rep now. However, he suddenly grabs Do-won, saying it would still be better to take care of him right here. Do-won is stammering at the fact that another boss fight was going to start so soon. He starts saying how, since they are both on the same side, they shouldn't fight. Eun-sung questions this and asks him what he thought was the reason the council didn't dispose of him, and Do-won says it's probably because he is the rep now. But Eun-sung tells him that one of the rules of the council is that members can fight one another, implying that the council knew if anyone on the council had a problem with Do-won, then they would fight him themselves. He raises his hand, telling Do-won that this is for fearlessly messing with Sillim-dong. Do-won scrunches up his face, expecting to get hit. But Eun-sung just lets him go, saying he had no interest in that. Do-won falls down while Eun-sung tells him to let's do as Do-won said, that they were on the same side now. He walks away, telling Do-won to not worry, that he would tell the others in Sillim-dong not to hurt him anymore. As the rest of the class fills in, Do-won takes a breath of relief at having avoided another conflict. He wonders why Eun-sung, who wasn't even in his class, was waiting for him here. During the rest of the breaks during lessons, not a single person had bothered Do-won or asked him to grind for him. This is pretty weird for him, as the classroom was so peaceful even though it was the first day of a new semester. While walking through the halls, he sees what usually happens on the first day in other classes: the bullies converge on the easiest target in class. They threaten everyone in the class by showing them they can become their victims at any time. And if some other bully tries to compete with them, they end up fighting each other in order to decide the hierarchy. The winner becomes the top dog and holds the authority in the class, while some become his lackeys to gain benefits. School, during this time, is survival of the fittest, just like a jungle. As he enters the bathroom, someone calls out to him. It's Jae-min again, looking at him in surprise. Do-won had forgotten about what had happened with him at the karaoke bar. Jae-min runs at him while saying his name, with Do-won raising his hand unsurely. Jae-min, though, clasps his hands and starts congratulating him for becoming the Baramidong rep. He wrings his hands happily, and when Do-won says that he is acting so different from before, Jae-min makes up an excuse to leave, telling him to say something good about him to Eun-sung. His newfound attitude shocks Do-won, who wonders if he had hit him too hard. Back in his classroom, Do-won thinks how no one is bothering him and realizes that Eun-sung actually wasn't lying about any of the Sillim members not hurting him anymore. He starts clearing up his setup, thinking he should be dying out of happiness at this piece, but something keeps bothering him. He is mystified by the system and wonders what its true purpose is, given how it had ultimately made him a bully council rep. Was it using Do-won to plot something? Maybe he was thinking too much into it, but someone interrupts his thoughts just then. It's RN, with a purple gift box in her hand, asking him to eat it. He asks her what she was doing, thinking that maybe she likes him, but she says that it was a small thank you for last time. Do-won opens the box in disbelief, asking whether this was a dream. His gift turns out to be a live octopus. Seeing it, Do-won thinks he really might be dreaming because who gives a live octopus as a gift? He asks her if she was sure about this, and she tells him that since he got badly injured that day, she bought him a live octopus, which helps with recovery. She asks him to eat it right now, as it was best when eaten alive. Someone interrupts them just then. Do-won looks up to see who it was. It's some guy that Do-won had never seen before, and he asks him to play his game for him. He puts his phone on the table and walks away, while RN asks Do-won if he knew him, but he didn't. In a dark room inside the school, Eun-sung is sitting and looking at some photos while talking to his friend. His friend's name is Kim Ji-jin, and he was asking Eun-sung why he was working with Do-won, considering he had never done something like this before. Eun-sung said that when he was one-on-one against Do-won, instead of attacking or defending, Do-won just shrank even further. Ji-jin says that then he was either too scared to fight or pretending to be scared to make Eun-sung relax, but Eun-sung says it was neither of those two. He says his body was definitely shivering from fear, but his eyes were clearly looking at something. Ji-jin says that then it must be a fluke, but Eun-sung says that he has something special, but that still wasn't the reason he was working with him. He just says that it is more amusing to watch him in person. As they turn on the lights and sit down, Ji-jin asks why Class 3, which was Do-won's class, was so quiet. Eun-sung shows him a photo that he was holding and says that it's probably because of this guy. We see the photo, and it turns out to be the same kid, called So Sung-woo, that had just bothered Do-won. Back in the classroom, Do-won is seen telling Sung-woo to get up, angry at the fact that he had ruined his precious time with Arin. He cockily tells Sung-woo to play his own games if he didn't want to die, knowing that the Sillim-dong guys couldn't touch him. As the guy gets up, we see that he was also a member of the bully council. He menacingly tells Do-won to repeat what he just said to him. However, what's more important is that this guy wasn't from Sillim-dong, but from Bongcheon-dong instead. Not knowing this, Do-won keeps flaming the guy, asking him if he didn't have any hands or eyes and why Do-won should be playing his games for him. He even threatens to tell Eun-sung about it, enjoying the benefit of his newfound position. Hearing this, the guy gives him an unnerving stare. Just when Do-won thinks that something might happen, the guy just apologizes and takes his phone back. He said he had heard that Do-won would grind people's games for them and didn't know that he didn't like it, which, Do-won says, was obvious. Relieved, Do-won turns around, thinking that Arin might have been impressed by his manliness. Instead, she was being pushed out of the class by another girl from his own class for coming into other people's classrooms. Do-won stared blankly at them leaving, disappointed that he did all that for nothing. There is an announcement on the speaker just then that second-year students can go eat now. Do-won realizes that if he left now, he may be able to eat with Arin, since they were sort of close. He's about to cut in front of Sung-woo when someone grabs his hand and stops him. It was Ji-han, telling him to wait for some reason. While Do-won turned around to look at him, Sung-woo had already crossed him and was leaving ahead. As Sung-woo was walking to the cafeteria, everyone was giving him a wide berth and were being cautious of him. As he reached the cafe door, some muscular guy cut in front of him and blocked the door. He tells him that he was a third year and Sung-woo was a second year, so he should let him eat first. While blocking the door, he calls his friends, telling them to hurry up. Sung-woo kept looking at this guy menacingly while the third year kept talking to his friends. Back in the classroom, Do-won asks Ji-han what he was doing in their classroom, and he replies that they are both in the same class, with Ji-han sitting behind him. He also tells him that what Do-won was just about to do was really dangerous, but Do-won didn't know what he was talking about. Ji-han asks him if he really didn't know about Sung-woo. Do-won replies that he basically played games for the entire first year, so he didn't, but says that Sung-woo did not seem like a bad person. Ji-han tells him that he has a calm personality and doesn't bully others, but there is one thing which makes him completely flip out, it is when someone cuts in front of him. Back at the cafe, the senior, seeing Sung-woo's eyes, gets angry and starts rambling on. Sung-woo just interrupts him and asks the senior if he thought he was faster than him. The senior laughs and raises his hand to hit him, saying yes, that his hands were faster than Sung-woo's eyes. But before he could finish the sentence, Sung-woo had already hit him squarely in his side. The guy recoils from the pain of being hit. He lunges forward and tries to punch Sung-woo. But Sung-woo easily dodges and hits him a couple of times more in quick succession. The guy keeps trying to hit him, but Sung-woo dodges each hit easily. Having failed to land a single hit, even this athletic guy is pretty much exhausted. Sung-woo asks him again if he thought he was faster. Before the guy could reply, Sung Woo speeds up and lands multiple hits to his face. He keeps smashing his face, while all the spectating students are unnerved at this one-sided beatdown. Having completely destroyed this senior, Sung Woo walks away, telling him that he wasn't even faster than him and still thought he could cut in front of him. This clearly shows that no one should ever be cutting in front of this guy. Sung Woo walks into the cafe after this, while we see that Do-won and Ji-han were watching all of this happen from the side, sweating from what had just happened. School ends, and Do-won is walking back home while thinking about Sung Woo. He recalls the conversation he had with Ji-han in the cafeteria about him, that something had happened to Sung Woo in his track and field club in middle school, which led to him becoming like this. Ji-han warns him to be careful around of him. Suddenly, Do-won smiles, thinking that as long as he didn't cut in front of him, then nothing will happen, and his peaceful days will continue. Of course, this was a rookie move from him, as a notification pops up. The new quest, like before, tells him to do the exact thing he didn't want to do, which was to cut in front of Sung Woo within a time limit of 10 minutes. Do-won starts yelling at the notification while the onlooking students just stare at him. He knows that there will be a quest to fight him next and is worried, but more importantly, he first had to find Sung Woo in 10 minutes. At the same time, in an alleyway, a beaten-up kid is seen apologizing for running, saying he was late for his tutor. He keeps apologizing, but the guy he is apologizing to just cuts him off and asks if he thought he was faster than him. The guy beating him up was Sung Woo, looking completely crazy from this guy having passed him earlier. We hear the sounds of Sung Woo mercilessly beating him up in the background. And then he walks away, leaving the kid crumpled in a ball on the floor. As the kid cries over what had just happened to him, someone tells him men shouldn't cry over this and gives him a tissue to clean the blood. The kid thanks him, while the person asks if he wants revenge on the guy who beat him. The kid says yes, but that he didn't have the power to do so. With only 2 minutes left, Do-won takes something out from his pockets, telling the kid to not worry, as he would get his revenge for him. The kid is super impressed by him as Do-won says he'll beat him completely. In reality, Do-won is shivering like a leaf and feels like throwing up, but knows that he has to go through with it. He holds the keys that he had got as rewards from his previous quests in his hands, ready to use them to level up and fight Sung Woo. In a flashback to when Do-won had completed the chain quest with Seon, we finally see the reward he got. It was a key bundle with 1 gold key and 4 bronze ones. Seeing the gold key, he was about to use it immediately when a notification showed up. He had to use all the keys at the same time, or else the rest of them would just vanish. Planning to use them together based on who he would fight next, Do-won had restrained himself at the moment. Back in the present, he had those keys out, with only 2 minutes remaining in his quest. He leaves the alleyway that he was in and quickly runs to the empty one next to it, as he couldn't use the keys in front of other people. He opened up his active skill window and used the gold key first. The skill he unlocked was a low mana attack that let him strike his enemy's blind spot. As his mana pool was still pretty low, he used a bronze key to increase his mana by 100. For the remaining 3 keys, he thought about how Sung Woo was probably a speed type, given the way Do-won had seen him fight. Making a decision, he used all 3 keys for the same stat. At this moment, a bus passes him outside, with a girl chasing it, trying to get on. In her hurry, she bumps into someone. Giving a quick apology, she keeps running and crosses this person. Unfortunately, the person she had just crossed was Sung Woo. The girl stops in front of the bus, thanking the driver for stopping. At this moment, Sung Woo, looking murderous, shows up behind her, with his arm raised, ready to grab her. Just as he is about to do it, Do-won grabs Sung Woo from behind and pulls him back, thus completing the quest. The girl safely leaves on the bus, thanks to Do-won. However, Sung Woo looks completely murderous at having been overtaken twice. Shivering, Do-won turns back and asks him if he would consider forgiving him if he apologized. Of course, he wouldn't, and the system knows it. His quest turns into a chain one, with a fight against Sung Woo. Du-won, knowing he had to fight, decides to immediately go for the first blow with his blind spot strike. The hit lands perfectly, with Sung-woo doubling over. However, it couldn't finish him off. Angrier than ever, Sung-woo reaches to grab Du-won, but Du-won immediately starts running at the look on his face, planning to keep running and hitting him. He thought he had got away, but the moment he turned around, Sung-woo was already there, ready to grab him. He grabs Du-won's backpack, while Du-won slips out of the straps and falls forward. Getting back up, Du-won realizes his new skill didn't do as much damage as the falcon drop. Sung-woo asks him his signature question, whether Du-won thought he was faster than him. He couldn't ask it fast enough, though, as Du-won immediately uses his strike 3 times in succession, using quantity to build up the damage. Having hit him, with Sung-woo doubled up again, Du-won says his attacks are faster than Sung-woo's. This was the wrong thing to say to this guy, though. Sung-woo drops his backpack, which falls down to the ground with a bam sound. Hearing this sound, Du-won is puzzled as to what this guy was carrying around in his bag. Before he could even finish his question, Sung-woo had zoomed in front of him to attack. Du-won panics at this and throws out his blind strike attack. However, Sung-woo dodged it easily. He starts laying into Du-won, telling him to say what he had said again. Du-won realizes that Sung-woo's backpack was weighing him down and tries to attack, but Sung-woo dodges it again. Balling up his fist, Sung-woo once more tells him to say it again. He lands a heavy punch on Du-won, which throws him backwards. Du-won rolls away from the impact, realizing that Sung-woo was too fast for him to hit. As he gets up, he thinks about using the falcon drop before his mana runs out from using blind strikes. However, he knows that there was a huge chance Sung-woo would dodge it, and it would take too much of his mana to use. As Sung-woo walks up in front of him again, he asks Du-won to pick between being in a coma or being paralyzed. Du-won thinks up a quick plan but doesn't know if it would work. He runs at Sung-woo again and starts spamming his blind strike attack again. Of course, Sung-woo easily dodges them and gets ready to hit him, telling him it won't work. Suddenly, one of his attacks lands on Sung-woo, hitting him in the face. Sung-woo is surprised by this, but Du-won looks super pleased, telling Sung-woo that it wasn't even a fast strike, but a slow one. Using his game knowledge, Du-won had mixed his attacks up, putting a slow attack in between fast ones, and it had worked. What's more, is that when using the last 3 bronze keys, he had put them into his attack stat instead of his speed because he knew that he couldn't beat Sung-woo in agility. As a result, his attack was boosted, so even his normal attacks did a lot of damage, and, as we can see, Sung-woo is not super tanky against hits. Sung-woo charges at him again, while Du-won realizes he just had to play this fight like a game. Knowing he would never lose at games, Du-won tells him to come at him, ready to win.